What does organizing have to do with investing in real estate for passive income? I'm so glad you asked, because the answer is everything, really, absolutely everything. And this video is all about that. Please do hit that like button down below. It helps me out in a really big way, so I really do appreciate it. Now, let's get to it. Hi y'all, thanks so much for stopping back by. If this is your first time here, then welcome. My name is Lori Livers, and I know it looks like livers, but it sounds like livers. It's a thing, everybody gets used to it. My name is Lori Livers, and I'm so glad to have you hang out for a few minutes. I am a full-time real estate investor. I got started investing in real estate just a couple of years ago. And in that short period of time, I've been able to create enough cash flow on a month-to-month basis to leave my 9-to-5 behind and live the life I want to live and not the life I thought I had to live. Now, I'm also a total planning and organizing nerd, because in my world, that's what makes everything else possible. So I am a straight up planning and organizing nerd. And this video is just about that, organizing. Now, at first glance, it doesn't seem like organizing and investing in rental property would have anything to do with one another, but they do. The first thing you need to do before you start out doing anything else is to organize your thoughts. And this is important so that you know your why and you get to where it is you want to go and you don't end up someplace you didn't want to be to start with. And this is how you begin with the end in mind, is by organizing your thoughts. Now, I know a lot of people think money is where I want to end up. I want to end up in a world where I have a lot of money. And I used to think that exact same thing. And let me tell you, it wasn't true. It doesn't mean I don't want to end up in a world where I have a lot of money. But money is not your why. Money is not the end that you want to begin with in mind. So money is a tool, just like any other tool. For instance, if you wanted to build a doghouse, you're not going to go to Home Depot and buy all the hammers you can get. You only need one hammer to build that doghouse. And money is a tool, just like a hammer. Now, I spent a lot of time in this part of my process, organizing my thoughts. If you'd like to see a video on organizing your thoughts specifically, please do drop down into the comments and let me know. I'd love to share all my tips that I learned along the way in that process with all of you. Now, once you have your thoughts organized and you're getting ready to start investing, you're going to need to make sure you have your finances organized. You have to know exactly where you are so you can know where to start. Organized finances give you the information you need to put this plan together so that you can move forward in creating that passive income you need to live the life you want to live. Let me know down in the comments if you'd like to see a video specifically about getting your finances organized so that you can start moving towards those goals. I spent a lot of time in my own world doing this as well, so I have a lot of tips and information that I can share with you. So once you have your thoughts organized and you have your finances organized and you're working towards your goals of creating your passive income, you are probably still working your 9-to-5 until you get to a point where you can leave your 9-to-5 behind. And this is where living in organized spaces really is super important. Living and working in organized spaces makes it so much easier to accomplish so much more in a shorter amount of time. And when you're building up your cash flow, this is important because you're working towards building that cash flow, but you're still working your 9-to-5. And you don't want to get overwhelmed and feel discouraged and quit before you reach the goals of living the life you want to live. Let me know down in the comments which specific spaces you might want to see organizing videos on. I have a couple of spaces that are absolutely critical to keep organized and functioning well in my world, and others that are just not so much so. So I'd love to hear from you. What are the critical spaces that you need to keep organized so that you can function more efficiently and feel better about the world you're living in? Now, the best part is when you have reached a point where you have created enough cash flow to leave your 9-to-5 behind. This is when you really are going to want and need organized spaces, because you're going to have so much more time on your hands to live the life you want to live. And you're going to want your life to be organized in a way and your spaces to be organized in a way that allows you to do just that, so that you can spend your time being creative or being more restful, or whatever your dream day looks like in the life that you want to live. And really, that's what it's all about. Now, in this video, we're going to focus on the simple process you can use to organize all those tangible things in your life. Even though this exact same process will work on all those intangible things like your thoughts and ideas. Those intangible things are for another video, so please be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you can be notified when that video comes. But now let's get to organizing those tangible things. So the very first thing you want to do is identify a space you want to have organized. You don't want to say, okay, I'm going to organize my whole house in one weekend. That's going to freak you out. That's going to be overwhelming, and you're going to want to quit before you make any progress at all. So don't say, okay, I'm going to organize my entire house. Break it down into smaller pieces, like maybe just your closet. Let's start with just your closet. The very first thing you want to do when you're organizing just your closet or any other space is to completely clear out the space. And this accomplishes two really important things for you. First thing, this lets you see what all you really have in that space. And the second important thing that this does for you is allows you to really see how much space you really have that you want to dedicate to storing these things. And those are really the first two things you have to start with. You have to know what it is you have and how much space you want to dedicate to storing these things that you have. Once you have cleared out all of your things out of the space and you are real clear on how much space you want to dedicate to storing these things, it's time to edit down the number of things that are going to be going back into the space. And this is where you want to get very realistic with yourself. If you don't use it, you most likely don't need it. If you don't have the space to store it, you most likely don't need it. And if you forgot you even had it, I can promise you, you don't need that. Be sure you only keep the things that you love, need, and use regularly. Nothing else should make the cut. Everything else that you're not keeping, you can almost always donate or recycle. So feel good that just because you don't need it, use it, or love it doesn't mean nobody else will. And you could be really providing a great gift to somebody else's life. So don't be afraid to get those things out of your space. So now that you have your things edited down to those that you need, use, and love, it's time to start putting them back in your space. And when you do this, you want to make sure you're going to group all your like items with like items. So for instance, if you're putting your clothes back into your closet, put all of your jeans together. Keep all of your jeans together. You don't need them spread out in different places. Keep all of your short sleeve shirts together. You don't need those spread out in a whole bunch of different places. This allows you to make decisions quickly and move on with your life. Now, the other thing you need to do when you're putting your things back into your space, make sure you're putting the things that you use the most often in the most accessible area within your space. For instance, where I live, we don't get much of a winter. It's only cold here about 6, maybe 8 weeks out of the year. And when I say cold, I mean like South Texas cold. It only got to freezing for a couple of hours once last year. We don't really ice over, we don't have snow, we don't have all of that kind of stuff. So I don't have a lot of coats and jackets. I only have a few. But those jackets that I do have, that I only need a couple of times a year, I keep them way up high in the back of my closet where they're not so easy to get to. It's not something that needs to be accessible to me on a regular basis. So I'm not going to dedicate any of my prime real estate within my closet to those things that I only need every once in a while. That the things that you use the most are the things that you need to have in that most accessible space. And those things that you don't use as often can be put away in a less accessible space because you just don't need to be able to get to them so much. Doing this will allow you to move through your space efficiently. So now that you're in the stage of the process where you're putting your things back in the space, you might find you need a few tools to really make it work well for you. And what I mean by tools is things like baskets or shelves. Tools like that help keep the space organized on an ongoing basis, because you don't want to have to be reorganizing this closet or whatever this space is 2 and 3 times a year. You want to be able to have the tools you need to keep this space organized in the way you need it to be. But here's the thing about these organizational tools. You don't have to spend a lot of money on them. You don't even really need to spend any money on them to make it work really well for you. I know you've seen on Pinterest and YouTube and every place else these pictures and videos of incredibly organized, beautiful spaces that people have sunk a ton of money into having the best, most beautiful tools to keep their spaces organized. And you can absolutely do that if you want to, but you don't need to. A box you have from Amazon will store your things just as well as a very expensive basket from Crate & Barrel. So if you're not ready to go out and spend the money on organizing tools, don't feel like you have to. You can have an absolutely fabulously functional space with a box just as well as you can with a basket. Because while everything on Pinterest and YouTube is absolutely beautiful, you're not living your life on Pinterest and YouTube. So if your space doesn't look Pinterest perfect, but it works absolutely perfect for you, that's all that matters. And that's it. Those are the very simple steps you can follow to organize anything. In this example, I talked about these steps in organizing things, but these steps apply to so much more. You can organize your thoughts to set your goals. and you can organize your goals to create that life that you want to live. And then you can go a step further and even organize your actions in a way that are aligned with your goals. And this is how you're going to get to that life you want to live. If you haven't seen my BRRRR strategy video, I'm going to link it to the end of this one. That is the organized plan I follow to create the cash flow I need to live the life I want to live every day. Now, before you hit this video right here and come hang out with me for a few minutes, I need you to hit that like button. It really does help me out, so I really need you to hit that like button. But while you're there, please do hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you can be notified when it's time to hang out a couple times a week. Don't forget, I'm waiting for you right over here. And until then, bye y'all.